Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
We have an exciting episode for you all today as we are gearing up for the Circle Cinema Film Fest happening just later this week. It's beginning as of this episode being released. And we're going to dive into a review of one of the movies premiering there, which is called Breakup Season. It's making its Oklahoma premiere July 15th at the festival. So if you're watching or listening to this before then, you still have your chance to get tickets to see that at circlecinema.org. So we're going to talk about that movie. But first, also want to remind you guys to subscribe to us on YouTube. Help us get to our new goal. We're pushing toward 306 for top secret reasons, as usual. But 316 is the next YouTube goal. And you can do that at YouTube. I almost said youtube.com. Like, people do that. Everybody goes to the app, Jock. Stop being a millennial. And just
www. Do you have to put the HTTPS : in there?
In my head, I always went ... / as a kid. No, I didn't know what that was called, so I'd go http ... youtube.com.
We're
But yeah,
dating ourselves.
do that. So Many Sequels.
Oh,
Subscribe
brother.
to us there and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening that way. Those things really help us out. Let's get started. Let's talk about Breakup Season. Really excited about this. Like I said, it's making its Oklahoma premiere at the Circle Cinema Film Festival. This movie stars Oklahoma actress Samantha Isler, who we talked to on this show. You can go back and listen to or watch our interview with her about this movie and about her career and her life here in Tulsa on our website, somanysequels.com. It also stars Chandler Riggs, who many people may recognize from his role on The Walking Dead. He starred on that show for several seasons. And directed by H. Nelson Tracy. We'll just read the synopsis for this real quick. It's about a young man who brings his girlfriend to his rural Oregon hometown to introduce her to his family, but it does not go as planned. Now, there is a potential that we may say some spoilery things in this review if that is something of concern to you. We're going to try not to, but I'm fearing that there's some things that may be hard to not talk about. But like I said, we will try to reserve that, and we'll also try to hold on to some of those thoughts for the end there. But we do want to tell you about the movie and why we think you should go see it if you still have the time to get those festival passes. So I want to hear from David first, I think. I would love to hear your first thoughts on the movie.
Well, I thought it was a really interesting movie. The synopsis you read, honestly, sounds like a great setup to any number of genres, horror, comedy, anything can come out of that. But yeah, it's a really interesting look at kind of like a worst case scenario, which is, it's in the title, so I think we're fine here. Chandler Riggs brings his girlfriend, played by Samantha Isler, and within like the first day of them being here for Christmas, they break up, and then she tries to go home, but she gets trapped by the weather, and so you're immediately in this really awkward situation. And I was actually really pleasantly pleased because I kept expecting it to take a darker turn, but every time it felt like it could have gone that way, it was instead met with something refreshing, something where the parents were helping, or the sister or the brother were imparting wisdom to these two. And so I just found it to be really interesting and a really different movie than we normally watch. So in that respect, it was very refreshing for me. So I thought the performances were actually really good as well. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to hearing, because we've talked about it a little bit since we watched it, but we haven't really talked about it in depth. So I'm interested to see what you guys thought.
Yeah, for sure. Garrett, what you think of it on first watch?
Yeah, I agree with a lot what David said. This is an extreme situation, as David kind of outlined. Like, this is probably not a situation that most people will ever find themselves in. And there's a lot of ways that could have gone. And this went down a really normal path. And I mean that with a compliment. Like, this easily could turn into an absurd situation similar to something like Meet the Parents, right? You're meeting the parents for the first time, you get into a weird situation, and then just craziness ensues. And that's not exactly what happens here. This is more of a realistic kind of a look at at just human nature and people being people. And that's what I really appreciated at coming out on the other side of this little, I called it an anti-Christmas Christmas movie. We can analyze
Mm-hmm,
that a little
mm-hmm,
bit later. But it's definitely, again, me being my favorite kind of Christmas movie is an anti-Christmas movie. So it checked that
mm-hmm,
box. And then it was just really well structured. It was a movie that knew where it wanted to go, which was really nice and refreshing. It kind of was a little slow for me to get started, but
mm-hmm.
once it laid enough seeds to know where it needed to go, it really took off and shined, and I was really pleased with it.
Yeah, I like how you said it just kind of shows off human nature. I think human nature is a lot of what the movie is ultimately about. I was pretty impressed with this movie from the start. Garrett, you said that there's a human nature aspect to play, and I really like that a lot because I found this to be such a emotional movie, and maybe I'm thinking about that now because we just did this whole Inside Out journey. I don't know, but now I'm just noticing emotions more often, and there's so much of a more of an emotional journey here than a storyline one, and we'll talk about our
Mm-hmm.
story thoughts here in a bit. But I just love that it starts off with breakups. We talk about growing up and dealing with hard feelings and hard conversations, and we also talk about moving on and the need to move on at certain points in your life and how that can also free you up to new experiences. There's a lot about kind of growth and rebirth in this movie that I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated quite a bit. And all those hard emotions are going on in the background of Christmas, creating that anti-Christmas feeling, I think, is where that's coming
Mm-hmm.
from for me. But the cast is so small. The cast is tight, right? There's not a lot of characters in it, and they work really well together. And the setting is small too. I mean, it's literally a like small Oregon town, as we said. So that creates a lot of warmth that I felt as well. And it was just a weird experience. Weird in a good way. Also mean that
Mm-hmm.
complimentary because it is this movie about these cold and feelings and hard conversations, but there's also this warmth to it and it's kind of heartfelt. And I just really liked that experience and how that felt watching. And then Samantha Isler and Chandler Riggs, I thought had really good chemistry for these type of characters. They did a really good job of kind of showing the reality of a college aged relationship breaking or falling apart. You know, they met in LA when they moved away for college, and now they're going to visit his family for Christmas. So it's kind of that young relationship, first serious one probably for both of them. And they just did a good job of writing that awkwardness, I thought. So I just was really taken by the movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, as we talk about you talk about the movie and you talk about like what are we trying to get at here? And Garrett, you put in this comment from the director about how this is both kind of trying to appeal to a personal story, but also a universal one. Almost everybody has gone through a breakup or something like that in their life, and it can be a very difficult time. And yet, not everybody will go through this exact experience. I think we can all relate to the difficulty of trying to move on, but the other person's just too close. And that story plays out in a few different ways because we also see Chandler Riggs' brother, played by Jacob Wysocki. He is having a hard time moving on from his past breakup, and part of it's because he's still where he is. So I think it's a very interesting story about the idea of or the concept of moving on, and I think the movie achieves that pretty well. Um, and I'm kind of interested to see what do you guys think about the idea of moving on from a breakup? Like how did you guys see yourselves in this, or did you? It was your have your experience has been different?
God, I hope that very few people have had this exact experience of breaking up with their significant other at their parents' house the first night of Christmas vacation. Like that, I really
Mm-hmm.
hope that most people don't relate to. But you're totally right that there's a lot of ways that you can still relate to this in any variety of ways. I definitely found parts of both characters relatable because
Mm-hmm.
you have the Cassie character is the one who is inciting the breakup. She's the one who has realized, this isn't working out for me. And so much of the movie, Chandler Riggs's character Ben is kind of in denial about it, kind of that early denial of I can still win her back. Maybe it's not, maybe she's not serious about it. But I can relate to both sides of that coin. So it was nice to see it from both perspectives, because we talked about this a little bit with Samantha in our interview. How there's so many times where you just want to ask both characters, what are you doing? Why are you being like that? Why did you say that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you leave her alone? Why did you get so mad at him? And there's no right or
Specifically,
wrong answer. Because they're
yeah,
just living out their lives. So it's messy, but it was real. So there's a
Well, and
lot of it. It was relatable.
they're both relatively immature,
Yeah.
and everybody shows a level of immaturity throughout this movie. And again, I think that's why this movie is so relatable, is because nobody's put up on a pedestal.
Right.
Nobody's like shown as the hero, where everybody's just really shown as real people. And then looking at this from a relatable breakup situation, each character, Josh, I think you mentioned this in one of the notes, or David, you mentioned this, but each character kind of is at a different level of some kind of breakup. Samantha's character is fed up and instigating the breakup, and Chandler's character is heartbroken and in denial. And then you have Jacob Wysocki, who is totally stuck and just distraught. Like, it's one of the most devastating events that he's ever been through, and it has just cataclysmically, easy for me to say, changed his life.
Kept him
You have
frozen in
their
time for
sister.
years.
Yes, he cannot get past it. And that the sister character, she is just starting the relationship. And then you have the happily married parents, and then you learn a little bit more about their level of relationship and what they've been through. And so it really does a good job of giving you every single level. And this is a 6-person cast, essentially, but every character is well thought out, too. The director, H. Nelson Tracy, really seemed like they knew what they wanted to do with each character and their purpose. And that is nice to see in a movie, because sometimes you just put characters. We watch so many movies where we go, this character wasn't needed. It was just kind of there to serve a purpose, or this person was a name. Every
Yeah.
character here served a purpose, and they knew what they were doing. They served their purpose well. It was just every person was well structured.
definitely. And let's talk about the characters and the performances a little bit. I want to start with Chandler Riggs, because I tell you what, like you said, Josh, there were moments where I just wanted to be like, Ben, stop it.
Yeah, you do.
Wanted to
Stop it.
punch him in the
Yeah,
face.
dude,
Stop
let
it, man.
go. Like,
As a friend,
Yeah.
Right.
just like a friendly punch in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes actually is between him and his father, played by James Urbaniak, Urbaniak, and he
Urbaniak.
Urbaniak. Okay, so it's when they are they go for a walk, and they go down where the train goes by. The train is very loud, and they have a very loud conversation about, like, you've got to leave her alone, and you've got to, she is going through this, you are going through this, but like everything you do to try to make things better is only going to make it worse. And I was just like, wow, that's such like real wisdom that you don't normally get in,
from
I
a
would say,
dad
in
character.
most movies. Yeah, you normally get the dad being like, here's how you win her
Yeah,
back.
son,
gotta
you
do
gotta
this
get
and
her
this and this."
flowers.
But he didn't even really care if he won her back. Like, he was
No, I
just
wouldn't do
like,
that.
look, man, this sucks, and you're not helping the situation. So I don't know. I thought that, like, Riggs really nailed the sort of like very sad whimpering breakup or in this particular dump in this relationship.
Yeah, he
And it was also I was gonna say, it was also nice to see that it's the man who is the one who is upset over the breakup. That's something I don't feel like you get to see a lot of the time. Usually it's the woman who is distraught over a breakup.
Yeah, that's a good insight. I totally agree with you, David, about how Chandler's performance, it makes you just want to shake him sometimes. But at the same time, there's no real villain in this movie.
No.
It's not one of those breakups where it's like, oh, he did something and broke her trust. Like it was more of a slow breakdown with, again, not to spoil too much, but just an incident that kind of made her realize, okay, this has been happening for a while. And
Mhm.
you see that in his reactions a lot. There are times where he does something and I'm like, why? What would possess you to think that would get a good reaction out of her? And then like 5 minutes later, he'll do something else and I'll go, oh, that's why you don't know that. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
bad for you. You need to know things more.
And then on the other end of that spectrum, you have Samantha, who I thought she was really good in this. There's actually, I think there's two scenes that stand out or will stand out to people, and both of them are earlier in the movie. One is the fight at the dinner table, which we can get, I say fight, but the argument sort of at the dinner table, which we can get into in a second. But when they start to, right before they break up, there's this sequence where they're starting to engage in romantic times, and
Carnal affairs,
and
mayhaps.
carnal affairs, they're gonna maybe get to know each other in the biblical sense, and they there's this close up. They like it's not really something you see for the rest of the movie, but there's this intense kind of close up on her and her and you can see all the wheels turning through her head about like
Yeah.
how this just is not where she wants to be. This is not how she wants this to go. And I thought she, overall, she was really relatable in this, but there were some really good highlight moments where I was like, wow, Samantha's really owning this scene.
Yeah, you're totally right. She nails that scene really well. She's very good with facial expressions. Just nails it because she communicates very well with her face in the dinner scene and then in the scene that you were just describing. And that's one of those moments, David, where I was like, Ben, this is not what she wants to do. What are you doing?
Right.
And then later I go, oh,
Well, his head's in
he's
the wrong
literally
place
not
to see
thinking
that.
about anything. He's not thinking at all. But yeah, you totally see her figure that out without speaking a word. And she does that a lot. When she fights with Jacob's character Gordon at the dinner table, they have this really, I think, funny argument about vegetarianism. But what's great about it is, you know, it's a funny scene, but you're still laughing at her expense. It would be a terrible thing to be a part of. Even to be
Oh
one of the
yeah.
other family members at the table, it would be so awkward.
Well,
But she handles
Gordon
that
had
so
me
well
on
too.
for sure because Gordon has you on one foot where you're like, oh man, Jordan's like the worst kind of
Yeah.
guy. And then and Samantha looks like he like kicked her dog on the way, and it
Yeah.
was such a it was such a tense, but like you said, kind of funny
Don't make me
argument.
stand for my
Garrett, what did
values
you?
at dinner. Come on.
See, for me, the standout scene with her showcased her and Brooke Hogan, not the one that many of you may be thinking based on the subtle wrestling podcast or references that David and I often reference, but this
Yeah,
is not that. Brooke Hogan is a different one.
thought about that too.
I have
There's
no
a
idea
really
what you mean.
sensitive scene. I know. There's a really sensitive scene between those two, and throughout this, she has shown that Cassie has shown that she's a really strong character, and she knows what she wants, and she stands for it, and she's really throughout the movie trying to make the best of a bad situation. And her family situation she mentions throughout the movie is not great, and so there's this scene where she's on the phone with her mom and going through a real big struggle, and then Ben's mom comes in, and it's a completely different reaction with a stranger's or your ex's parent, and she's welcomed and accepted and treated like a human being. And that is,
Right.
again, a level of kindness and humanness in this movie that is just consistent throughout. And those are the moments that really stand out for me. I think that, again, Cassie's a very well-rounded character, and she goes through so many different emotions, and Samantha really does a good job of going from every single season, if you will, because this movie really puts her through the ringer quite a bit.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. How did
James Urbaniak as the dad was also one of my second favorite characters. Both of the parents I thought stood out. I think
yeah.
And
Samantha
I
told
really
us
didn't
that Brooke
expect
Hogan
them to.
this was her first movie. She did a great job, and James has been in a bunch of stuff as like a character actor.
He
So
was
really
just in
a
Oppenheimer.
yeah, exactly,
Picture winning
Oscar-winning
Oppenheimer.
movie.
And he's
Yeah.
somewhere in the Fablemans too. I'll have to rewatch that movie.
How about that? I didn't know. I didn't
But
catch
yeah,
the Fableman credit.
but yeah, he's Yeah, honestly, and I didn't expect the parents going in as the movie started. I didn't really expect them to be like that big of a role.
No, they're usually not the
But
parents, and
no, but they were great. I have one, uh, I have one thing to say about the other character that we haven't mentioned is Carly Stewart, who plays the little sister Liz, and she's got like a vlog that she's doing for school, I think, and so she's documenting this whole thing. And I really kind of expected, and maybe I don't know if this might vary into criticism a little bit, but I guess I kind of expected this vlog to be a problem. I thought it was gonna like be
oh,
because she's like documenting the
interesting.
breakup, she's calling it Xmas, and all that. And so I kind of was like half expecting her to be like stirring the pot a little bit and trying to get reactions for her vlog. That's just from how it started. But that didn't end up being the case at all. Like she ended up be getting sort of taking on sort of a mentory protege, I guess is the right word,
Yeah,
relationship with Cassie
I think I could have
for the
done with a
better.
little more development for Liz.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there is a lot of storyline left open for her that I do wonder what happens with. I had a lot of questions about the vlog and influencer stuff too, and wanted to see if
Hmm.
that would come up again and how that would play in. And it doesn't ultimately too much, like you said. It doesn't come back in a bad way anyway. You were expecting
Yeah.
something like that, but there's for a cast that is this small, they do spend a lot of time with multiple characters, and so not every one of them is going to be able to get the same kind of treatment, but she still manages to have her own plot line with her
Hmm.
boyfriend and her insecurities on that. So you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, I think she has a lot, and she's very much in the story. But I was like, there was a part of me, I guess, that just expected the vlog to become like a sticking point, an issue, like that maybe like
A burn book.
there was a part of me that thought, oh, at some point, Cassie and um, Ben Chandler Riggs, they're both going to sit down and watch these videos she's been making, and then they're going to see each other's perspective and not get back together. I wasn't expecting that, but like they're going to see each other's perspective because she's been documenting them or something like that. That was my thoughts as the movie was unfolding at the beginning, but instead it went a very different way, and that was just an aspect of her character and not like her whole character. Like you said, we see her side of her relationship and how it forms, and Cassie sort of gives her advice, and she treats Cassie like a big sister, like it all works out in a really nice way.
All right, I already know we've already heard some of Garrett's thoughts on this, but now I gotta ask David because you are so militant. What percentage of
Oh,
Christmas movie is this? I think asking you percentage
I
is the
mean,
better question.
I mean a percentage.
Because I think it's there. I think
Oh,
there's some. I think
it's like
there's Christmas in there.
45% maybe.
That's higher than I thought you would
Like it's
go.
definitely set at Christmas. It ends on Christmas. I believe it ends on Christmas Day. Um, and there's some festiveness going on. They do go Christmas shopping. But obviously, some of those elements that you might expect, some of those things you kind of you sort of attach to Christmas, things Garrett hates like cheer, happiness, togetherness.
What?
Some of those things aren't really there.
The
You
Grinch.
know, the Grinch. It's not so much about giving or any of those things. So I think it's definitely a movie set at Christmas time. But they could have had this same thing to happen over a course of a wedding, over the course of Thanksgiving, over the course of any other holiday,
I'll give
really,
you
and
Thanksgiving.
you could get a lot
That
of the
could make
same
sense.
beats.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
any final thoughts on the film or any other scenes you guys wanted to call out or anything before we talk about our final thoughts?
One thing,
Hit us.
and this is gonna be a spoiler. So again, if you haven't watched the movie yet, we talked to Samantha. I asked Samantha this. It's not in the interview. I asked her after the interview. At one point in this movie, Chandler Riggs has a beard, and I was convinced that was the fakest beard I'd ever seen. But it's real. It's real.
Can confirm
And
BTS
apparently,
information.
Samantha told us that they had a hard time keeping the beard off him. Like it was like the hair and makeup people were like, "This kid stinks." I don't know if they said it that way, but that's my interpretation. That's subtext. because his beard was so thick, and they had to shave it. But I had never seen Chandler Riggs with a beard, so it was very funny to see.
Agreed, same. And I gotta say, Chandler, if there's any way you see this, I could never grow that beard. So props to you.
It
My
was
face
great.
just won't do
It
that.
looked great.
Okay, well, let me start with my final thoughts here. Um, Obviously, I really enjoyed it. I think I would recommend it to most people. It's pretty approachable. Um, it's maybe not maybe not for kids, maybe not a family movie, but for adults and older or young adults, teens probably. I would recommend this to them. It takes a real bummer of a situation and turns it into kind of this warm, heartfelt story. I like spending time with the characters. I found so many parts of it relatable, and I don't know about you guys, but over the past couple weeks since we've seen it, I've even been telling people about it. Like, hey, I saw this movie that's coming out at the film festival really soon, and I really liked it. Like, you should actually consider going to see it. So it got me talking. I'm gonna give it 4 stars.
I don't disagree with much, Josh. This, again, I said earlier that I enjoy a movie that's not necessarily your expected, stereotypical, if you will, Christmas movie, and this one really falls into that category. I also lean more towards it's just a movie set at Christmas time than a Christmas movie, but it is a featured element, but that's not here nor there. It's a really well thought out movie that knows where it wants to go and knows the story that it wants to tell and how it wants to tell it. Each character is really well thought out and developed, and they all really deliver in their own way. There's not really a weak link that I can point to this either. So I agree, Josh. I think that I would recommend it to people. I encourage you, if you're able, to go get your ticket to the Circle Cinema Film Festival and sell this sucker out and go see it. And I also agree. I think that it's a 4-star movie from me as well.
And I'm right there with you guys. I thought this was a really solid film. I'm glad we got asked to take a look at this, because it was totally worth the watch for me. Riggs and Eisler have really good chemistry. It was really great to see them step into a romantic lead for the first time. I'm also gonna give this 4 stars. Right now, I have it as my number 6 movie of the year. And then maybe, and it might flirt with that top 5 as the year goes on. We'll see what else comes out and how I feel later. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I have talked to a few people as well about checking this movie out when they get a chance, and I really hope that it gets picked up.
Yeah, one last little soapbox moment for me here, because we talk a lot on this show about sequels, obviously, and blockbusters and
Mhm.
big movies. We don't spend a lot of time talking about smaller films like this. And a
Mhm.
complaint that we hear a lot from people is that there are no original ideas anymore, no original movies. Everything's a sequel or a superhero movie. And I just want to stress to people that that doesn't have to be true. There are movies
Mhm.
out there that exist. Go if you are lucky enough to have a theater like Circle Cinema in your area, or if you're in the Tulsa area, go check them out. That's where you're going to find movies like this. Local film festivals, a lot of times it's not even a theater that will host those. You can find those at museums and things like that. Hosting independent film that's not coming from major studios or haven't been picked up for distribution yet. There's a lot of original films out there, but they do require some looking. You got to look for them. So go to circlecinema.org, check out the film festival page, get your passes, plan out your
And
schedule,
come see
make a whole
us.
weekend of it. Yeah, come
Mhm.
see us. We're going to be there talking to people. Samantha and the director, H. Nelson Tracy, will be there for the premiere on the 15th of Breakup season. They just announced that Academy Award nominee Lily Gladstone will be in attendance to help
Mhm.
premiere a new documentary that she's narrated. So there's a lot going on at the festival. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, circlecinema.org, go check that out. And that's it for us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or in your favorite podcast app to keep up with our new episodes and reviews. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook. Let us know what you think
Mhm.
of the movies. Let us know if you have any ideas for us. If you make it to Circle Cinema Fest, like Garrett said, come say hi to us. But if you don't see us, drop us a line. Let us know what you thought of the films you saw there. We would love to hear about it. We will be sure to give you guys a wrap up of it when we're done. We're hoping to have some fun video content for everybody. So keep an eye out for that again on our YouTube channel. Okay, finally, so many sequels.com. Find all that stuff there. We'll see you all next time.